Hello, dear Harry Spock fanfic stream. That's what this is for. I've written some more fan fiction. My name is Pierre Novellie. I did some you can watch on my YouTube channel about Harry Potter before. Now I've been rewatching the Hannibal TV series with Mads Mikkelsen and everyone else, and I thought I would do some fan fiction based on that TV series. So. Hannibal Lecter was under the weather. He never got sick. It was degrading and weak, but there was no two ways about it. He had the flu. Hannibal sighed and smoothed down the sleeves of his immaculate suit. His headache was not helped by the fact that he had to prepare for yet another dinner party. He used various expensive delivery services to acquire the rare and exotic ingredients for his feasts. However, Baltimore's only artisanal Italian butcher and the small French import store downtown had both been run out of business. Not enough people had been willing to pay those sorts of prices for types of bread they'd never heard of, or for black market ortolan for that matter. This, combined with various retail giants, had destroyed these preferred options, so it had come to this: online shopping. Even then, Hannibal had to use a combination of 3 or 4 different retailers to acquire everything he needed, and this still wasn't perfect. America's loose food labeling laws meant that he had ordered Parmesan made in Ohio twice. Needless to say, that deserved a murder, but who to murder? The entire cheese industry? The labeling man? The CEO? That was the trouble with megacorporations, reflected Hannibal. Where was the individual responsibility? Hannibal squinted at the receipt. They'd made some sort of substitution, replacing the black truffle oil with barbecue sauce. Visions of incredible violence flashed before his eyes. Barbecue sauce. Hannibal had managed to get Will Graham and Jack Crawford to agree to come over for supper this evening. Was he supposed to impress and intimidate them with barbecue sauce? He might as well serve weak beer in a tin can. No. The recipe would have to change. Perhaps carpaccio to start. Hannibal wandered over to his freezer full of body parts. Was there enough time to defrost an entire thigh? The legs of that rude accountant really needed eating. They were taking up far too much room. Hannibal unwrapped the thigh and slid the frozen haunch into his sink and covered as much of it as possible in water. He checked his watch and realized he should have started chopping vegetables half an hour ago. Hannibal enviously imagined just knocking some hamburgers together and spending the rest of the afternoon drinking Lemsip and figuring out who to kill for the cheese thing. Obviously, he enjoyed feeding human flesh to the FBI, but did it have to be such a massive faff? That evening it was time for the dinner party. But the flu had gotten worse, and Hannibal was not on form. He welcomed Will Graham and Jack Crawford into his home, taking their coats and trying to speak as cryptically as possible. He managed to mumble something about the cloakroom being where gentlemen would hang their cloaks in the old days, and Will and Jack nodded politely as they wandered into the dining room. Hannibal's mind was foggy and he had a splitting headache. As he brought in the hors d'oeuvre, Jack and Will were already arguing about whether or not Will was too stressed to be working in the field. Normally this would be a chance to stir the pot, or say some more cryptic things. But with the flu, Hannibal just felt bloody sick of it. He tried to say something about the unusual berries he'd picked for the drizzle, but they weren't listening. For God's sake, Jack, thought Hannibal, you're supposed to be a profiler. Of course Will's too stressed to work in the field. Look at him. Constantly pouring sweat, waking up out of invisible sleep mid-conversation, screaming about antlers. You wouldn't trust him with a penknife. Will was arguing back, saying of course he was fine, which was even stupider. Obviously Hannibal had been fiddling with Will's brain to keep him in the game, but still, if you constantly hallucinate the man you shot and killed and have conversations with that hallucination, you should probably take a small holiday. Never mind all the sleepwalking and fevered nightmares. There was now a tense silence. The argument had ended without resolution either way, and Hannibal realized he hadn't been listening, so he spun them some nonsense about the wine being from a vineyard just down the road from his old French boarding school. It was actually Napa Valley, another online shopping error. But how would these idiots ever know? They worked for the FBI, for God's sake. They weren't sommelier. Hannibal cleared away the starters and sighed. What was all this for? He stood in the kitchen and took 3 paracetamol. It was time to spice things up, he reflected. He would put some wee in the gravy.